Imagine you've been walking for hours beneath a scorching sun. Your mouth is dry. Your lips have cracked. Every breath feels hotter than the last. Your legs are getting weaker. Your vision begins to blur. You haven't had a drink since yesterday. Then, you see it. Water. A small pond sits quietly in the middle of an open field. For a brief moment, it looks like salvation. You stumble toward it as fast as your exhausted body can manage. But as you get closer, you notice the water isn't clear. It's brown, cloudy. The shoreline is covered with fresh animal footprints. Flies buzz over the surface. Something smells wrong. Maybe a deer died somewhere upstream. Maybe a herd of mammoths crossed through it this morning. Maybe a predator dragged its latest meal into the water only hours ago. You have absolutely no way of knowing, because this is 100,000 years ago. There are no microscopes, no laboratories, no water filters, no bottles labeled purified. No one has ever heard the word bacteria. No one knows that tiny invisible organisms are living in almost every drop. As far as you know, water is just water. And right now, your body needs it more than anything else. So you kneel beside the pond. You scoop the muddy water into your hands. For a second, you hesitate. Something about it doesn't feel right. But thirst is stronger than fear. You drink. The water is warm. It tastes like dirt. Tiny grains of sand scrape across your tongue. You swallow anyway. One handful becomes another, then another. Your body instantly feels better. Your throat stops burning. Your head clears. You stand up, wipe your mouth, and continue walking as if nothing happened. Hours pass. Nothing. You sleep that night beside the warmth of a campfire. Still nothing. The next morning, you feel fine. You hunt. You laugh. You gather food with your family. Life continues. But 3 days later, everything changes. Your stomach begins to cramp. At first, it's only a dull ache. Then the pain becomes unbearable. A fever follows. Your body starts shaking. You can't keep food down. You can't keep water down either. Then comes the diarrhea. Again, and again, and again. Every hour, your body loses more water than you can replace. Your family watches helplessly. No one understands what's happening. No one knows that millions of microscopic organisms are attacking your intestines. To them, it looks like a curse, or bad luck, or angry spirits. Within days, a perfectly healthy person can become too weak to stand. Ironically, the very thing you drank to survive may be the thing that kills you. This wasn't rare. It wasn't unusual. For hundreds of thousands of years, every river, every lake, every stream, every muddy puddle was a question with no obvious answer. Would this water give you life, or would it quietly take it away? And somehow, generation after generation, humans survived anyway. Not because the water was safe, but because our ancestors slowly learned something extraordinary. They learned how to recognize danger without ever being able to see it. And that discovery may have become one of the greatest survival skills our species ever developed. You probably don't think much about drinking water. You turn a faucet, fill a glass, take a sip, and trust that someone, somewhere, has already made it safe. Your ancestors didn't have that luxury. To them, every drink was an educated guess. The strange part is, most dangerous water didn't look dangerous at all. Crystal clear water can still be full of deadly parasites. Bacteria are invisible. Viruses are even smaller. Protozoa like Giardia can live inside perfectly clean-looking streams. One sip is all it takes. Today, doctors understand exactly what happens. The organisms enter your digestive system. They multiply. Your body fights back. The result is severe diarrhea, dehydration, fever, and sometimes death. Ancient humans didn't know any of this. But they didn't need microscopes to notice something important. They noticed patterns. Imagine living beside the same river for years. One family drinks from the slow-moving pool near the bend. Another walks a little farther upstream to a cold spring. After enough seasons, people begin noticing something. The families drinking from the springs seem healthier. The children survive more often. The elders live longer. Meanwhile, the people drinking stagnant water become sick more frequently. No one knows why, but everyone remembers. That's one of humanity's greatest strengths. We're pattern recognition machines. Long before we understood science, we understood experience. If someone became violently ill after drinking from a certain pond, people remembered that pond. If a spring flowing from a hillside never seemed to make anyone sick, people remembered that too. Knowledge spread through stories. Don't drink there. Go farther upstream. Follow the cold water. No written language, no medical books, just observation, generation after generation. Anthropologists believe this ability to recognize environmental patterns helped shape human survival long before civilization. Because survival wasn't about knowing what bacteria were, it was about learning where danger usually hid. And surprisingly, animals became some of humanity's first teachers. Watch a herd of deer. They rarely drink from stagnant pools if clean flowing water is nearby. Mountain goats climb incredible distances to reach fresh springs. Elephants can smell underground water hidden beneath dry riverbeds. Humans noticed. Our ancestors spent every day watching animals. They learned which plants were safe to eat, which predators to avoid, and where animals chose to drink. If dozens of healthy animals visited the same spring every morning, that spring probably wasn't a bad place to start. It wasn't foolproof. Animals can carry diseases too, but in a dangerous world, every clue mattered, over thousands of generations. These observations became traditions. Parents taught children. Grandparents corrected mistakes. Entire tribes remembered safe watering places that had protected their people for centuries. Some archaeologists believe this is one reason ancient camps were repeatedly built near the same freshwater springs. Not because those places were convenient, because they'd already proven themselves. The water hadn't killed anyone, and in prehistoric life, that was enough. But recognizing safe water was only half the battle. The real challenge came when there wasn't any safe water at all, because eventually, every human faced the same terrifying choice: drink dangerous water or die of thirst. So what happened when there was no clean water anywhere? That's where human ingenuity began to change everything. Imagine you're leading your family across an open plain. The nearest river has dried up. The ponds you've passed are little more than muddy puddles. The water smells foul. The surface barely moves. But everyone is thirsty. The children can barely keep walking. You know drinking from that puddle could make the entire group sick. But doing nothing isn't an option either. This was one of the hardest decisions ancient humans faced. Not every day, but often enough that it shaped how our species survived. Over time, our ancestors began discovering something remarkable. Not through science, through trial and error. They noticed that moving water was usually safer than still water. A river rushing over rocks rarely smelled as bad as a stagnant pool. Cold springs bubbling out of the ground almost always tasted cleaner. Water flowing downhill seemed fresher than water trapped in shallow holes. No one understood filtration. No one knew about microbes. But they could see, smell, and taste the difference. And little by little, experience became instinct. Entire tribes changed the way they traveled. Instead of wandering randomly, many followed rivers. Not because rivers guaranteed safety, but because flowing water offered the best odds. Archaeologists have found that many prehistoric campsites were built beside freshwater springs and reliable streams. Again and again, across thousands of years, across different continents. This wasn't a coincidence. These places became trusted. The water had earned a reputation. That reputation could mean the difference between life and death. Sometimes, even a few hundred extra steps made all the difference. Imagine two people reaching the same river. One drinks from a muddy pool where the water barely moves. The other walks upstream until the water is flowing over clean stones. Neither person knows why one choice is safer, but one of them has unknowingly reduced their risk. That lesson wasn't written in books. It was passed from parent to child. Walk farther. Find moving water. Drink where the stream begins. Simple advice. Powerful advice. Knowledge like this spread because people survived long enough to teach it, and every generation added something new. Some groups learned to collect rainwater in animal hides. Fresh rain hadn't passed through muddy banks. It hadn't mixed with decaying plants. It hadn't been sitting in the sun for days. Whenever storms arrived, they became an opportunity. Others searched for water hidden beneath the landscape. Watch where birds fly at sunrise. Look for clusters of green plants in dry country. Follow the tracks of deer or wild horses. Animals need water every day. If you know how to read the land, they'll often lead you straight to it. Even today, experienced trackers use many of these same clues. Our ancestors turned observation into survival. But nature wasn't always enough. Sometimes every nearby stream was contaminated. Sometimes floods filled rivers with mud. Sometimes drought shrank clean springs into stagnant pools. When that happened, humans discovered something that changed everything. Not intentionally, not because they understood chemistry, but because they already understood one thing better than almost any other animal on Earth: fire. And without realizing it, they may have stumbled upon one of the greatest medical discoveries in human history, simply by boiling water.